Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the KAA Kajukenbo Deep Dive, and today we're talking to one of the Gaylord girls. Welcome to our final episode in our series on the life and times of Charles H. Gaylord, one of the first people to bring the fighting art of Kajukenbo out of Hawaii, out to the mainland. Our special guest today is none other than one of Charles Gaylord's own daughters. Sigung Kelly, if you don't mind, I'd like to give you the chance to introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm Kelly Gaylord McCormick, and I'm the eldest daughter of great Grandmaster Charles Gaylord. I have two other sisters, Vanessa and Charlene, and I have a rank of 6th degree black belt that I got on July 4th, 2000. So it's been 20 years I've been holding that rank.
July 4th, a heck of a day to do that too. Was that at one of the Kajukenbo, the barbecues, the big park gathering?
It was actually a private ceremony, but I still got the double punch at the end.
Nice. We've all got that double punch. When I got the double punch, my instructor actually threatened to go behind me so that I could get tripped over him, but he was nicer than that. So we all know who Charles Gaylord is. We've been talking about him in the show for a while now. Can you tell us more about his early history, about what he was like when he was younger, going on up to where we are?
Well, of course. I mean, but the things that I would tell you would be stories I heard because we left Hawaii when I was 3. So I've seen some photo albums. He was quite an athlete in high school. That's where he met my mom. He was a varsity football player and a varsity basketball player and was always in the newspaper, all-star. So he was really athletic as a young man. He was raised in a large family, so I guess you had to like fight for your stuff, where there was, I think, like 7 boys and 8 girls.
That's a crazy house.
Quite a lot of kids. And he was in the second group of children, so he was a twin. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, so he had a brother that was a twin that passed away probably about 5 years before he did. And I saw a picture of both of them together, and they had like blonde, curly, like Shirley Temple hair.
I can't imagine him with that kind of hair. I always thought I saw him with darker hair.
That's half Holly. He's half Holly, and then Puerto Rican on the other side. So the blonde came out in him. So yeah, that was cute. So then, I know that he was a future farmer of America in high school, and then started training at the YMCA under, Imperado's method, and brought that to the mainland in the early 60s. So he moved in with my Uncle Bob because he was he worked at a gas station, and moving to the mainland would offer better opportunity.
Right.
Because his brother was already here, and brought him in our family. So Vanessa was a baby and I was about 3. And then he started teaching his brother karate. And then they opened up a school together. And then they went their own ways. And then it just kept rolling and rolling. And then we ended up with the school in Fremont. That was our home-based school. I mean, that's where, I learned, and, back then the training was a lot different than now. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
Some crazy stuff happened, they'd run across your stomach, or gosh, I remember they'd get like, Dad would come by with those bamboo sticks.
Oh yeah.
And you either had to squat or jump or do a sweep. You just jump to the side, or you had to, you never knew which direction it was going to come. And if you got whacked, man, you got whacked. That sucker would sting.
And that got carried on. I know Ronna Stellar still does that drill.
Nice.
Exact same thing.
Nice. You have to be agile, right?
One way or the other. You're going to be limping home. Yes.
That's right. So yeah, those are the good days, though. I mean, it was like a lot of people, what they consider the old timers, we went through a lot. And me and Dad, Dad, when he came to the mainland and he started really teaching Kajukenbo and it was starting to spread, he started an association with some of the other pioneers, Ramos and Reyes Halbuno. They all came to the mainland. They formed an association which is called the Kajukenbo Association of America.
KAA.
So that started in 1967. Yeah, the KAA. Aldous was part of it as well. He created the patch that we have today. He drew it.
He was the one who did it.
Yeah. So, and we have all the documentation with his notarization that he drew it, and it was made for the KAA for that purpose. And it actually helped us with our, pursuing our trademark. That was one of the factors that allowed us to trademark the patch. So that was really cool and very nice.
That is great.
Yeah.
And it's great. Like, I think a lot of the Kajukenbo people know, but a lot of people who don't do Kajukenbo, well, some of them know the name Dacascos. His son is really popular in the movies, for years now. And I think I never knew he was Kajukenbo until years later. I mean, when I first saw him, I didn't know Kajukenbo was. And then I find out through Kaju that Dacascos is part of the lineage as well.
Well, he is one of our members.
Yeah.
To this day, he is on our database. So that's really cool. So then at some point, all the different pioneers decided to branch off and have their own associations. So Dad continued the association often, whether it was see, the thing about nonprofit organizations, they don't belong to a person.
Right.
It didn't belong to my father, nor does it belong to me today as the president of the current KAA. It belongs to the people of the association. So even if you're there at the beginning to sign the documents to make it a nonprofit, that doesn't mean you own it, because it's a nonprofit. It belongs to the people. It belongs to the members. You're a member. It belongs to you. You have a say in how it goes. It's your association. So that continued until his passing. And then with his passing, which took us all by surprise, himself as well, because we had a KAA meeting scheduled that day and we had all these plans. So we just followed what he had requested. I had asked him out of the blue, hey, if anything ever happens to you, who's your successor? And he flat out said John Bono. So Bono became the president, and we were able to continue the momentum because I was part of the board then. I was the secretary at the time, and we followed his wishes that he shared with the current board, that his successors would be Juarez and Great Grandmaster Chavez. So then we put that into action. We switched different positions, and that's when I came on as president. And some of the board members, we agreed, we made mission statement, a vision statement, a brand. We went ahead and had to reincorporate the original KAA because there was a time where there was not any activity. So the original KAA was dissolved by the state of California. So the current board right now reestablished it as a nonprofit organization. We added Gaylord Method to the name because me and my sisters do own the Gaylord name as successors in California. So it was just applicable that the association had the Gaylord Method attached.
And when was that? When did it get reestablished?
It's been about 2 or 3 years that we reestablished that. I don't have the exact date, but we did put out correspondence, on all social media so that people would get the word and get the updates of where we went. And then at the same time, we also trademarked the patch. So unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have had affiliation with Gaylord Method. Unfortunately, it needs to remain with just the Kajukenbo Association. But other than that, we're super excited with the KAA and where it's headed. So that's kind of cool. Yeah,
it seems like it's really taken off. A lot of things are happening, and we're seeing a lot of people be much more active. I remember a lot less activity in the past, and it's really good to see things moving forward as they are now, actually.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. I feel like there's relevance to our association again.
Mhm.
We're able to um, fulfill the whole objective of maintaining the Gaylord legacy
Mhm.
and the method
Mhm.
to keep it pure. Of course, we allow for, different techniques in it, but as long as the foundation remains intact and
Mhm.
everybody understands it,
Mhm.
um, that's why the association is important so that we can really make sure that it stays pure and it doesn't just get put out there for anybody. You have to, if you're an outside entity, you have to be accepted and sponsored by one of our black belts
Right.
before you can really be in the association. So there's
Right.
a little bit more to it than just wearing a patch. It means
Right.
something.
Now, I believe that Grandmaster Gaylord would be happy with moving in this direction as we're doing now.
Oh,
When
absolutely.
in the past, was there much resistance? Everybody came together, they developed the KAA, they went their own way. In that time, was there any much resistance at all, or was everybody pretty supportive? Or
I don't remember any of that being a problem.
Mhm.
But I was a young child at that time. I just remember me and Dad did the whole demonstration circuit. That was
Uh-huh.
our gig, right? We'd go from tournament because we went to a tournament every single weekend. I
Uh-huh.
mean, Ramos had one, and Reyes would have one, and then there would be one at Oakland Auditorium, and then the
Mhm.
big one would be at Long Beach at Parker's, the International Karate Championship. And that one was cool because there were celebrities there and stuff.
Can you tell
But
us more
we got
about that one? I'm curious about the Long Beach one, actually.
because it was super cool because when we went there, we were part of a little group of people that were like protected by rope. Our chairs were protected by rope. And
VIP, yeah.
so we were in the VIP section because we were part of the demonstration thing. I remember this as a kid. And sitting right there, I remember they introduced Van Williams and Bruce Lee, the Green Hornet and Kate. So we were hanging out with them and stuff, and I was playing with the son. It was really cool. Now to look back at that, that was kind of a cool thing that happened.
Yeah.
What I mean?
Well, but
So
I think so. I mean,
yeah,
it blows my
yeah.
mind that you got to hang out with Brandon Lee as a young boy. He was a star in my absolute favorite movie ever, The Crow. And just, I appreciate the history that he went through and everything. And I think it's awesome. You got to hang out with him as a boy. I mean, when he was a boy and you were a little girl and you were just hanging out there.
Even if it was just the one time, and
Yeah, yeah.
it was a cool weekend because on the way there,
Mhm.
and you probably won't know any of this reference, but for you older people, you'll know what I'm talking about. When we were on the plane, I remember my mom and dad and I sat facing each other. It was like a four-seater thing.
Uh-huh.
And the guy next to me was like a really big dude. And I remember my mom was like going, like kind of giving me the eye, like, who is he? Talk to him because I kind of was a little bit of a social butterfly as a young kid. And that's
So
how
you
I
send the
ended up.
daughter out. Go talk to him. Go find out what he is.
That's why I ended up playing with Brandon Lee and sitting on Bruce Lee's lap because I was like, right? So the guy goes to the bathroom, and my mom looks over at his briefcase, and there was like an Oakland Raider emblem thing. So then she's like, Mom, I think that's an Oakland Raider, and they didn't. And so then I had to poke and probe at him, and he was the quarterback, Daryl LaMonica.
Oh,
So
yeah.
case, and he pulls out a picture and signs it to me. I still have it. It's all warped and stuff, but it
So you
was
got to see
super.
all these celebrities going around on this demo circuit.
Oh, that was on the way, and then Bruce Lee on the way back. So that was cool. That was really
How did most of the crowds feel about you in the demo? I mean, there weren't too many kids in the demo in those days, were there?
no. It was fun because a little girl beating up her dad, flipping him and stuff. As a matter of fact, at that same trip, there was a reporter from the Black Belt magazine, and
Uh-huh.
he did a cartoon on us. I'm sure you've seen it. Of
I
course
have
you
seen
know.
that one. Yes, it's yes. I think both of you guys throwing the punch, right?
Yeah, one's going, keying really loud, and the other one's going eek. And then he wrote like at the international karate championship, Kelly Gaylord flipped her dad like he was a bag of popcorn or something like that. But it's just like silly. But I feel like, damn, I have a cartoon made of me. That's pretty cool. It say that.
How many? Did Grandmaster Gaylord ever talk about that much? Did he ever say anything about the demos or being a cartoon made?
Back in the day, and we are really trying to do. We're trying to hold on to two traditions. Because a lot of times they get watered down and lost. So we're trying to compile all our memories of traditions, and one was to be humble, right? You're supposed to walk with dignity and respect, and you're supposed to be humble. You're not supposed to boast. You're not supposed to let your belt hit the ground. You're supposed to wipe your sweat with it. I mean, all these things that when you shake a black belt, you use two hands. If it's somebody in a higher rank, you put your head down. I mean, your gi is a kimono. That's why you wear a belt. You can train any way you want. You can train in t-shirts or whatever you want to do. But really, when you present yourself, it should be respectful with your gi, and it's getting lost. So, and you can't force people to do what they want to do, but you can recommend. And that's what the association, strives to do too. So back then it was more about being humble. He was a crazy guy though with his demonstrations. I mean, remember he'd take those railroad ties?
Oh yeah.
At the very beginning when I was a little kid, it was the railroad ties, it was the phone books, ripping the phone books in half, or the time he'd put his fingers together and he'd have people from the audience try to pull his fingers, like, 5 on this side, 5 on this side, and he tried to have them pull it. Just to show the mind over matter.
Yeah. It's great because it sounds like almost like a street entertainer, but it's fun. It's not disrespectful to the art. It's actually a fun way to show people what the martial arts can do for you.
I really think it's the whole mental part, the meditation, because I was in an advanced black belt class that had only 12 people in it, and they were 12 selected people. And we would go in a room where he'd light a candle, and we would sit around the candle and we'd breathe and we'd meditate, and it was like very spiritual, and he brought that part like from Priest Daruma's time, into the mix and taught us that. So I kind of always felt like when he did these strength things or weird things, it was that part of he was tapping into, what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. But that was just my interpretation. That's just a kid anyway.
Now, well, speaking of which, you had quite a few private lessons with him as well, didn't you?
Yes, over the years. I mean, I may not have gone to a lot of black belt classes because as, a married woman, I moved away. But anytime he was around, you don't think that my dad would make me work out.
I think we know him well enough to know that he would do that. Yeah.
Do you think that he held back on hitting me? I think I got it worse just to show there was no nepotism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You ask any martial artist's kid if they feel the same way. I'm going to tell you they do.
Yes.
Right?
I've been teaching long enough to teach kids whose parents are martial artists, and they do get it the toughest. They got you yelling at them on the floor and dad at the corner, get harder, get him harder.
And then if you're a girl, it's even more.
Oh yeah.
It's even more because there was no girls division at first when I first was fighting in tournaments. So I had to fight boys all the time.
Yeah.
Because I was really little when I started fighting, like 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, little. And then when I got to be about 12, then the girls division kind of started. So I had been fighting boys out a long time, and at our school too, because who are you going to fight?
Right. Right. Not many choices. And did you ever make friends with any of the other girls at that time when you guys were fighting each other?
Yes, it was the same circuit of girls. It was the Castro girls, April and June and all of them. And it was, what's her name? Liz Barrios, I think. And then, what's her name? Roe. She was all there. And one time, it would be like the olden days would be you would have eliminations at first.
Yeah.
You know, you'd fight eliminations, do your kata eliminations, and then you'd have a dinner break. And then you'd come back and do finals.
Uh-huh.
And so in between the finals, there were demonstrations, which we also did. But that's when one time I fought my friend Barrios for the grand champion, and Chuck Norris was my referee. I swear to God, he was just a regular guy then. You know what I mean?
He wasn't wearing jeans and a cowboy hat.
Yeah,
Was he reffing, right? Was he?
Walker. No. He was just a regular guy. So, I was fighting my friend, and I had just got done playing with her, because you'd go play out on the grounds of wherever you were, a high school, college, wherever you were. And I came back in, and we had to fight, and I kicked her in the stomach, and she knocked the wind out of. I knocked the wind out of her. And you kind of feel bad,
right?
But then you kind of don't, but you kind of do a little,
right? Yeah,
because you're supposed to. You kind of do. It's a weird. Being a martial artist and hurting somebody is a weird kind of mix in your mind.
I hit you in the face because I love you. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad, but not really. So then she's okay. We start fighting again, and I sweep her and I get her down on the ground. And I go to hit her, and I stop because her face was so scared. So I felt super bad. So I was like, oh, God. So I get back up, and then my belt kind of comes loose. So you go back to back and down on your knees, and I'm down there, and Chuck Norris kind of goes behind me and starts tying my belt for me. And he whispered in my ear, "Follow through, don't stop." I thought, oh my God.
Chuck Norris just told me to beat up my friend. Yeah.
So I did it, and I won.
He was right.
Right. I just thought that was funny. If I ever see Chuck Norris, I'm going to tell him that story. He probably won't remember, but I do.
No, that's a story that's going to stick with you forever. Chuck Norris told me to hit my friend harder and make her cry.
That's funny.
I want to move back a little bit more towards the KAA, if it's all right. I'm curious about the future of that. Again, because this series is based on Charles Gaylord, and I think his legacy, you're a big part of that, and the KAA is his legacy.
Absolutely.
What are the plans for the future? What happens next?
Well, right now we're in communication with our schools. We've done the first 3 milestones. We went ahead and promoted our leaders, Great Grandmaster Juarez and Chavez, and the association runs the business end of the art, the Gaylord method, and the 2 Great Grandmasters lead the martial arts part of it. And the 3 of us combined always vote on any decision. So it has to be a 2. There's 3 of us to vote. The board, and then the 2 Great Grandmasters. So we're setting up the association so it's a well-oiled machine, so that when this group of board people start coming out, new young ones can come in, and it's already all set up, and it'll continue to prosper. So that's what we're working on. We're working on asking the schools right now that we've set up the leaders of our martial arts, now that we've been reincorporated, and now that we have the trademarks and are correcting non-allowable use of our trademarks your way, what are the next objectives you want us to work on? So we're sending the schools right now a survey to determine what's our objectives and what's our priorities. So some of the things that we're thinking about are a group kind of maybe liability insurance for everybody, everybody gets fingerprinted with live scans, trying to give them information how to make their businesses more successful, whatever they need. But we're throwing out some suggestions, what we think they may need, and then giving them a survey so that they can come back and tell us what they really need. And then we're also working on communication, having meetings with the schools, virtual meetings. Now that this is just a platform that everybody uses, it's going to be, it works out great, because then there's no limits.
Right.
And then having ones with all the members so that we can give them information too.
Excellent.
So that's kind of where we're headed.
So it sounds like a lot more support for the schools and the teachers and giving them what they
Absolutely.
need to be successful.
And the members, because there has to, and we're working on a webpage right now. I'm trying to get all that together. We're getting really close. Takes a lot of information to get the webpage going. So, but we have all our schools. We communicate with our schools quite a bit. And hopefully we'll get that survey out here where our next focus will be.
Excellent. I look forward to hearing more about that. Well, we're about finished with today's show. So I want to ask a final question, Sigung. If you could send any message to Grandmaster Gaylord, what message would you like to tell him?
Well, I'd like to tell him that I hear what he tells me to do, and I'm doing it.
Good. Excellent. I'm sure that he'll love to hear that too. Well, this is the end of our show, and brings an end not only to the show today, but also this series that we've been focusing on with Charles Gaylord. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. A special thank you to Sigung Kelly. It's awesome to have a child of Grandmaster Gaylord on the show. Thank you for coming. And for those of you listening, thank you for following us for the last few years in this series. Your support has been noticed and appreciated. Stay tuned for more stuff in the future. We're going to see where this goes. This has been the KAA Kajukenbo Deep Dive. I've been your host, John Hoylo. Until next time, stay strong, stay Kajukenbo strong. Mahalo.